Hello, I'm Deborah Hills from Queen Mary's School of the Arts. Welcome to Get Spotted. This podcast series is part of our QM Elevate programme, designed to help you build confidence and develop the communication skills you need to succeed at university and in your future career. In each episode, we'll talk with students, alumni and academics from different disciplines and see how engaging with assignments can be a game changer, helping you refine your communication skills and stand out in the workplace. Let's get started. This episode is Economics and Finance.
3 years ago, before starting my degree, give me an Excel sheet or a report to write. 100% I will choose the Excel sheets and the math and everything. But it's crucial to be able to write properly. And in the real world, you will have to write a report for clients, a research for your manager or your colleagues. Writing is crucial.
So this podcast is from the School of Economics and Finance, and we've got 4 participants today. So we're just going to start by you introducing yourselves, and we might as well start with Daniela.
Hello, my name is Daniela Tavasci. I am Associate Professor at the School of Economics and Finance. And what I want to share with you today is my experience of teaching history of economic thought for third-year students in my school.
Hello everyone, I'm Toufic and I'm a third-year BSc Finance student here at Queen Mary. I'm 23 and I'm from Lebanon.
And hi, my name is Luigi Ventimiglia. I'm an associate professor at the school. We'll talk about my, of course, module and my experience and where all that led.
My name is Tef. I am a third year BSc Economics student, and I was Daniela's student in her module.
Luigi's course. So we're going to start. Luigi, tell us about the module you're going to talk about and the assessments.
Yes, it's a module. It's called Principle of Trading. I've designed. It was great to design this module because it was really coming from the experience I had in the city. So I was working there before for investment firms and asset management banks and so on. So I thought, okay, let's organize this module in such a way that reproduce exactly what is real life there in the city. And so is a module about trading, so it's called Principle of Trading, and what we do is exactly trying to reproduce what I was doing there in the city. So lots of interesting activities. Maybe we can talk about that in details. And so I tried to pass really on my experience.
Excellent. So Toufic, you were the one who took the course. Tell us about taking the course and the assessments.
So when I first read all the assignments, I was really scared actually because it was a long list, many assignments, especially the weekly reports we had to write. So we had to write about what happened this week in the market, and for 5 weeks, I guess, if I'm not wrong. And I was quite spectacle at the start because what shall I write and everything. But it was actually quite interesting because, first of all, it's a small report of 1 page maximum, where I had to write about a general background, what happened in the market in general.
Is this the one where you were reading the Financial Times?
Yeah, exactly. So to write this report, I had, for example, to read the Financial Times every day, and build a kind of how do you say it? A routine, because like it's very important to stay up to date with the market in finance, I guess.
Yes, because basically the idea is this is actually what happens in reality. You have to write to your clients every week at the end of the week and explain them what has happened and why markets have moved in that way, what were the important news and what were the drivers of the market. So I wanted to pass this to students. So yeah, they had to do exactly the same thing.
And they had to write about 700 words, was it, a week, or 500 words a week?
Yes.
Yeah, it's about like a page and a half.
Yeah,
It's not too long because clients otherwise will be bored. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. It's not too long, and which is not very easy too, because like you have to be like straight to the point, but at the same time not just write the title. Like for example, this economic data was released and that's it. I had to explain what was the reaction of the market, what happened to the index, if it went up or went down, and why, and everything.
And didn't you say you had to advise the client on it as well, or was that the second assessment?
Yes, for this one, I could give like an idea, like you should buy or you should sell.
Yeah.
What went in?
So the idea of this weekly commentary was to ask students to match what they were studying, the theories that I've studied so far at uni, and matching and trying to explain reality. And so matching the two things together, because sometimes you are very abstract in, okay, these are the principle of economics, this is how things work, but then how do they really work and how markets move? So this is what was the main aim overall, like educational aim of this assessment.
I'm interested because I teach the first year sometimes and they don't do a lot of writing. So to suddenly have to produce something every week, what was that like?
Yeah, it was a first for me too. Like it's the only module which I had to do weekly reports, and it's good because like the first report, for example, I was still lost, not sure if I wrote a lot or not, if it's correct. But then the rest of the reports, like you're used to it, kind of. So it's like writing. Like I'm better at writing thanks to these.
So you developed a rhythm.
Yeah, exactly, the rhythm.
You learn by doing. You
Yeah,
get better because you do it.
And even for the research for this assignment, for the first report, I read the FT the last day, for example. That's it. But for the rest, every day I was looking and then writing an idea, the news, and then at the end of the day, the week, I chose which news was the most important, which affected the market the most, and I wrote about it.
Excellent. And then you said that you had another assignment was advising a client with a presentation and a report. So tell us a bit about that.
Yes, so I had to choose 2 stocks or 2 assets, and then advise the client about whether to buy them or sell them. So it's different than the rest of the assignments in other module, because the rest were like, okay, just I know it's the professor will correct it, basically math, and it's correct or wrong. Whereas for the presentation, for example, I had the client in mind. I couldn't, for example, talk about very technical stuff in the presentation, because the client might have a different background and not a financial background. So, and also, which was tricky for me, like it was like 5 minutes probably. I don't remember the presentation. There was a limit for the presentation.
10 minutes, yes.
10 minutes, and I
time-hungry economist.
Yes, and I was way above this limit, because I gave a lot of details. But these details weren't meant to be on the presentation for the client, but in the report at the end. And
Yeah, but basically, because the idea was, once we have done this weekly commentary, understood how the mechanics works, then okay, now you have to apply what you have learned. So then it's really time for trading, and we are very privileged because we have a Bloomberg lab, so we can do that really using the same terminals that people use in the city, and because there you can do lots of analytics and interesting things. So yes, then it was their responsibility. Then each of them had to really take responsibility of their own book and try to make money and see, again, putting in practice what they've learned, and then present it at the end to the client and see and tell what they've done, and then at the end they also have to write to the client a report on what they've done. So
And in reality, I guess the client doesn't read the report that much. They listen to the presentation and the report's there for their accountant. Or
Yeah. But also, you have to, if
to be
they want to go back and see,
of
okay,
course.
what did he say? And so it's also another good exercise, right?
Absolutely. I'm thinking about the balancing act that you have to do there, what goes in and what doesn't go in, and what do they want to know when I speak to them, and go on, please.
Yeah, exactly. Like I followed the strategy for this assignment, which is very repetitive. For like when buying and when selling a stock, for example, I followed a specific strategy, and at the end of the day, I had a lot of stocks. So I was trading, for example, every day. So this is why my presentation was very long. I explained every single trade, which I wasn't supposed to do. For example, I could explain one trade, and then because it follows, everything is the same. So just explain this one trade only and not all the trades. Yeah. And then give more details on every trade in the report. So...
but I guess this is also what you guessed from the other students, because everybody was presenting in front of the other students. So I think
you learn
you learn
a job, and
they are all on the same day in the same room and presenting one after the other. So of course they were saying, I may have said that, I should have done that, or so learning from each other, I guess, was a really important aspect, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like knowing other students seeing other students' presentations, we know what they did good, what they did wrong. For example, if they weren't having eye contact with other students, if they were reading off the slides, if they were hesitant, not confident enough, sorry.
And then at the end, I was pretending to be the client. So I was asking a couple of questions.
I just want to ask one more thing, Toufic, about this. You did an internship after that, and you used some of these skills. Is that right?
Yeah, exactly. So I did an internship in a private equity fund in London, and I had a lot of assignments to do, like deadlines, weekly deadlines, and sometimes daily deadlines. So managers gave me, for example, a research to do, and I had to give back my report in 2 hours, for example. And I really used the skills I learned from the principle of trading, especially that I built a routine from this module, which I had to work every week. I have some modules now that I take. I only have a midterm and a final. So during the term, I don't really work much, Whereas this module really, it reflects the real world.
So it gives you a work ethic.
Yeah.
Amazing, isn't it? Should we move to Daniela's?
Please.
Yeah. Tell us about the third year module that you teach.
Okay, I teach history of economic thought, which traditionally is organized chronologically. Usually these modules start from the father of economics, Adam Smith, until the recent economists, the recent Nobel Prizes, tend to be very theoretical. I didn't like the traditional organization of the module, so I included what I used to call horizontal dimension. So the vertical dimension is the chronological order. So you go Adam Smith, Ricardo, Marx, and so on and so forth. And then there is an horizontal dimension which looks at specific themes or economic problems that are looked at by different economists. And then recently I won a grant from the Principal Fund to experiment with co-creation. So I decided that the students should actually choose the topics. So first lecture in Mentimeter projected and asked the student what economics should be about. And they came up with 3 topics: inflation, crisis, and inequality. One thing is exceptional, I must say, in this question is that this question has been asked by several economics courses across the world as part of a core project which is used to teach now 140,000 economics students across the world. I've used it in my traveling across the world in India. The themes change with time and geographically. So it depends on whether you ask an American student or an Indian student, or you ask 10 years ago or last year, themes tend to change. But one, which stays of interest for everybody, and this is inequality. So I think we can ask our student here more about this experience.
So inequality was the theme I decided to go with, and yeah, like Daniela said, it is one of the themes that almost everyone in the world kind of interact with, because somewhere in your life, somewhere in the economy where you live, there probably is some sort of inequality, which is the reason why I chose to do it. I feel like the process was really helpful in something I like to call almost like guided autonomy, where we had a lot of freedom, but at no point we ever felt like we were kind of just left there to do whatever we want, and just we had a lot of guidance as well. So it allowed us a lot of flexibility as well. So for our final reports, we had to present our theme based in the context of a country. I chose India just because that's where most of my knowledge lies. But initially I did pick South Africa and tried to explore that. But then at some point I felt like that wasn't something where I was getting anywhere with, and I had the flexibility to halfway just go, maybe I can find a different country.
Was that a confident choice of just, I think I'll do that? Or was it, oh my God, I'm going to tell us about how you felt about...
With inequality or India?
Changing your context.
I felt very comfortable with it just because India is kind of like the default of my knowledge, because I come from there. So a lot of the knowledge... because of conversations with family, conversations with relatives, I have a lot of that background knowledge. But through this process, I still found out a lot of new things about India that I didn't really know. So my project was based on the 1991 economic liberalization policy, which you hear a lot in the media as one of the cornerstones of how India changed its developments. But through this, I really got to know the nitty-gritty and the details of the impact it had.
And what was the assessment for this?
So the assessment for this, we had 3 different types of assessments. We had quizzes, which were really helpful because just because you chose inequality, some students might get a bit complacent with the other topics and the other economists. But I feel like with the quizzes, we still had that sort of consistency where we were paying attention in every single lecture, whether it related to our final project or not, which I felt was really useful, because at some point you kind of find something which you felt like wasn't related but ends up relating at the end. So it's really good to have that holistic knowledge. We had a poster presentation, which was, so we had a poster and then we presented it. I felt like those were really, really useful, especially the presentation, because Daniela capped the word limit for the posters and the presentation at 500 words, which to any undergrad student feels like a nightmare, because you want to try and have as many words on your poster and your presentation as you can, so you can just kind of read off them. But this kind of forced us in a nice way to almost think about our presentation skills in a different way, because I feel like Toufic might have experienced as well. Almost all of us have had some sort of feedback where it says poster had too many words, don't need full sentences, things like that. So this kind of got us into the habit of presenting in a very succinct way, because our presentation was only 4 minutes as well. And that might feel long to some people, but when you're talking about 7 different economists over 5 different eras, that 4 minutes goes away really quickly.
And am I right, you had to do a report about this as well? And who was the kind of audience for the report? Was it a fellow economist, or was it...
The students had to choose.
Yeah.
Right.
So this was part of the autonomy granted to them. So students could choose whether it was a non-economist audience, fellow undergraduate students, professors, whether it was a pitch and they were, next year already working for the government economic service. So it was entirely up to them. And obviously they needed to be consistent. So they couldn't be too technical if they had chosen a non-specialist audience. One thing that is important that is I felt very concerned that I was going to over-assess them because there were these quizzes every 3 weeks.
Every 3 weeks.
But then the quizzes were really matching the skill of being able to report, to deal with definitions, with the technicalities. So there was a complete lack of given autonomy, if you like. Yeah. So we're very, the notions were tested, and the ability to understand the basic of each school of thought. And the other thing you mentioned is that how they could choose one of the topic, but also I hope the message was passed that each school of thought is a system. So the distribution theory of Ricardo, just to mention an economist, has a lot to do with other parts of his theory. They are not completely independent as exactly that. It's a system of thought. So even though students might have chosen inequality or might have chosen inflation, they still will be able to use the other part of the theories to scaffold their argument somehow. And that worked. That worked really well. I mean, when I marked the final reports, I gave a lot of very positive feedback. I understand was a very original way of approaching the history of economic thought. But one example that they had, and I think this might be the only module of history of economic thought in the world that does something like that, they had to read a couple of FT articles for a history of economic thought module, which means making the history of economic thought relevant to today's world. That was a challenge for me, but I hope that we managed to achieve the objective.
It sounds amazing, and it also sounds a bit different from the other economics modules. And I know that you'd said that there was quite a lot of reading involved. And tell us about the reading and how you got on with it. And also you told me that you've since been doing some work. So tell me about how it relates to what you're doing now.
Yeah, so the reading was a very regular thing, a very weekly thing. Depending on what topic you chose, whether it was inflation, inequality, or financial crisis, you got a piece of literature, whether mostly it was in articles. Sometimes we had papers, and those are things that we just had to read weekly to keep up with what the economist we were learning that week about our topic. So that was something that was very useful for the poster presentation and the final report. And it just got us into the habit of regularly reading economics-based things, whether it was articles or papers, just because I feel like a lot of my fellow colleagues weren't really used to that. So reading that regularly really helps you develop speed as well, because if you see something that's 20 pages long, you will be terrified at first to try and approach it. But then you learn the techniques. I don't need to read all of it. I can just read the abstract, read the conclusion, read bits of the introduction, and then you get the basic gists of it. So that really helped develop speed, which was really useful in the future when I went on to do research assistant work for other School of Economics and Finance professors, where I was giving tasks where you're giving a topic and you just have to conduct a literature review on it. So that involves reading a lot of articles, a lot of historical documents as well, in some cases. So having that experience in Daniela's module really impacted how quickly I was processing that information.
And also critical reading, isn't it? You're not just reading it all. You have to select, you have to...
Yeah, because if there's 20 pages, not everything on that on every single page is going to be useful to what you're trying to find. But having that ability to kind of nitpick the information that you need from a haystack is really useful.
And to evaluate it, I guess, to choose whether or not those papers are relevant and have the confidence to say to your professor, yeah, use those ones, don't use those ones.
Yeah, and to find other interesting information as well that they haven't told you to look into. So if you find something that's interesting and you say, I want to do more separate research on this, then you find a couple of papers that they haven't recommended, and then you go back to them and use those evaluation skills and say, I found this really interesting paper. I know you said you didn't want to look into it, but I think this is really interesting. I think you should look into it. So having that confidence is really amazing.
And I guess also for writing skills, we don't have to forget that the more you read, the better you write.
Yeah,
so we always ask students, you have to write this report and write that. But, it's very important that they read a lot. Otherwise, the writing will never be that excellent.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's really true, especially right now where I'm just finalizing my dissertation, and throughout that whole process, usually I struggle with writing a lot at the start because I don't know exactly what style I'm going for or what audience I'm trying to target. But after reading so many papers, now when I was writing, I felt a lot more comfortable where I know this is how I'm going to address this. I know this is the style, this is the kind of feeling I want to develop in this writing, and that process is just so much more smooth.
This is a subject-specific issue, as undergraduate economics students tend to be very strong in mathematics. And as a result, obviously, they might be a little bit less confident in writing skills and in reading as well. And very often we have concentrated with our colleagues on writing skills. But then increasingly we are adopting this idea that the more they read, the more they develop a confidence in writing and the practice of writing. So I'm very, very pleased to see that actually worked.
I teach the first year economists, and I've been speaking to some students recently. And one of them was saying to me, I was asking him about his writing skills and writing as an economist. And he said, but the thing is, I hate writing because I don't like English literature. I don't like it. I just like economics. So I think my question for all of you, actually, we'll start with Toufic and Tirth, is, well, what advice have you got for those students? And do they need to be able to write?
They absolutely need to be able to write. Absolutely. This efforts that Luigi and I and other colleagues in the School of Economics and Finance have made seem out of nowhere, or the result of our own preferences. But it is not, actually. There is a survey from the Economics Network, who is a network of various economics teachers across the country, and is associated with the Royal Economic Society Teaching and Learning Committee. And the survey of employers clearly shows that employers would require better writing and reading skills and report writing from economists. So our effort is about employability and is about the social mobility. So when the School of Economics and Finance has come out as the first in the UK for social mobility, we were very, very pleased. But behind that, there is a lot of work and a lot of effort getting together and try to boost these very much sought after skills.
Do you pick one as well? Because it's interesting from the student side.
Yeah, or like writing is so important. Like 3 years ago, before starting my degree, give me an Excel sheet or a report to write. 100%, I will choose the Excel sheets and the math and everything. but it's crucial to be able to write properly. And in the real world, you will have to write a report for clients, a research for your manager or your colleagues. Writing is crucial. And obviously, we can improve your writing by writing a bit every week. And as everyone said, reading is very important too.
So it's a kind of skill that you're going to get better at the more you do it.
Yeah. Practice.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Tur?
Yeah, I'm trying to stay in academia for as long as I can. So writing in that aspect especially is very, very important. And reading improves your writing. And that's what my teachers have been telling me since, we're in year 5, year 6. But you really feel it. And especially in school, we had something called a waggle, which is what a good one looks like. And the more you read, the more you realize what a good one looks like. So you kind of try and emulate that style more and more, and you develop your own unique style in a way as well, where these are the phrases you like using, these are the words you like using, so that just quickens up the pace as well when you're writing.
Yeah, no, go on.
But this is one of the practice. The daily practice is something that is encouraged even for PhD students. So when you start a PhD, even before you start the writing process, there is a strong encouragement to write every day. There's something that... yes, exactly. So if you want to stay in academia...
And I want to move... We're going to close up soon, but I think we can go back to Luigi, where he started, where you said you were working originally in the city, and then you made this course, and then you... So with the sort of skills that we've been talking about today, and when you worked in the real world, tell us...
Yeah, no, they're very, very important, because clearly communication is a major aspect of your work in general, right? So it's with the colleagues, it's with the clients. You can do wonderful things, but if you are not able to communicate them to the others, they will never notice them, right? So it's very essential. Yeah,
But in writing and
both in writing and in speaking. Yeah, presentations and yeah.
And it just reminded me of one last thing, that when Daniela and I had a conversation and you said something about learning is about struggle, and you had a really good quotation. Do you remember that?
It's a good struggle.
Learning is struggle. Like we can't, it's hard.
Yeah.
But then you get better.
Yes. I think there is... maybe undergraduate students tend not to realize that until later, no? That struggle. I mean, I could easily share what is my final aim, no? Especially for the history of economic thought, where I give a lot of autonomy, because they are third-year students, that it's right for them to have autonomy, I think. They will have even more autonomy next year if they do an MSc, or if they go out there and have to do, some research with a 2-hour deadline. But obviously it means, I guess it's exactly the opposite as education as spoon feeding. Mm-hmm. Unless you go through that struggle, you're not going to learn, you're not going to experience that. And the more you experience that struggle, the more you feel confident. So that is also a skill. So it's a good struggle. That's what I do.
Yeah. Thank you all so much. I just think being communicative economists, it's an amazing thing, isn't it? Like, you've got the data, you've got the crunching, you've got the maths, and now you've got the language and the arguments and the... Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll end there, but thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Debbie.
Thank you, everybody.
You'll find all of the links discussed on the Get Spotted webpage. And if you want help in developing your communication skills, why not sign up for the Communicate with Impact Masterclass or one of our other modules, free to all QM students. Details on the QM Elevate webpage.